Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Forum for a Better Understanding. You know, we're still so excited about last week when we took a tour with you of the importance of chant in all forms of religion. Now, today we're going to look at the other form of art and how significant all different aspects of art could be to express faith on any number of levels. So today we have three different people, again, who may be the same guests from last week because they also see in their art form their faith coming to concrete image. My first guest across from me is my brother Rob, who you may recognize from last week and also from a striking resemblance to me. Rob is a liturgical artist and a liturgist and brings that form of gift to our program today. He is also a graphic artist, and we'll see some of his work. In the middle of our team here is Onehawk Hirajeta, who is from the Comanche Nation and an elder in that community and a wonderful guest speaking to us about his native tradition. Right next to me is Reverend Kurt Rai, a Buddhist priest from the Fresno Betsuan Temple, who will share with us again the importance of art to the Buddhist community all over the world. Rob, if you could open today using some of your images you may have on screen and the whole idea of the significance of art in the Christian tradition. How important is that?
Sure. I think it's great that the title of this series is towards a better understanding, a forum for a better understanding. We think of understanding as something which happens when you speak. If I speak to you, you might understand me. That's certainly one way. But there's something mystical about art which opens to an understanding that isn't necessarily totally intellectual. There's something deeper than that. In the slides which we're going to pull up now, you can see some of the evolution of how the great truths and the great sentiments of the great traditions have been expressed in art. The first piece we'll see is this magnificent piece from Rembrandt. It might be not clear immediately what's happening, but what we have here is a young man in the embrace of his father. This is the prodigal son coming home to the father. And of course, in this beautiful biblical story, we have the essence of reconciliation, the essence of forgiveness. And that is a theme which runs through all of our great traditions. In the next slide, also from the classical era, from Tintoretto, we have this scene of Lazarus being raised from the dead. Now, this may seem like a miracle, which of course in the Christian tradition it is seen as such, but for me, what is the miracle is that Jesus would be so invested in a human being that he would feel the need to be present with that family as they grieve their loved one. In the very next slide, a very contemporary image of Jesus weeping. This quote from John's chapter 13, is it?
This healing of the raising of Lazarus?
Yes.
11.
This is the most, to me, one of the most eloquent verses of Scripture. We know Jesus does miracles, but we forget that the man who did the miracles was also the man who felt with the deepest emotion. And one of the major benefits of art is that it takes us out of our brain and puts us into a deeper place in our body. The next couple of slides will indicate some of these thoughts too. When we think of Mary, we often think of her as an older woman with the arms of in the arms of Jesus as he's dying in the Pietà. But here we have my conception of Mary as a young girl who's just discovered she is going to have a child. And one of the essences of our Christian tradition is the enfleshment of God's love, the incarnation, the willingness of God not to just bless the creation, but to actually be immersed deeply in it. In the next slide, we see another blessing. In all the traditions, there are admonishments for how to live a rich and full life, how to be blessed, how to be happy. And in this quote from Luke, we have the 8 Beatitudes. Blessed are they, happy are they. In the next slide, this art piece depicting the gentility and simple compassion of St. Francis, whose motto of making us a channel of God's peace is so strong in our religious tradition.
Thanks for giving us not only a classical beginning, but then getting us right up into someone that we can identify with, I think, across the world, St. Francis. I wonder if Onehawk could pick us up at this point and start sharing a little bit about, in the native tradition, Onehawk, give us the idea of where art may be seen and how it may express things, as Rob says, beyond words, beyond language.
Well, in all native traditions, in all native tribes, one of the forms of art is actually painting, and painting not only on themselves, on their clothing, but actually leaving, back in the days, skins that, for the onlooker, they would look like a drawing, a picture of something happening. But really, when a traditional person that is versed in how to interpret that painting would see a story, a legend, a mark in history, they would take and paint these skins with all the different shapes and forms and symbols that would tell a person from a point in time, this and this, actually these events happened, and how to take something from that, how to interpret it in a way that it would be spiritual, it would be something that it would be wisdom that was to be transported into time as people changed, and so these things were kept guarded very well. Unlike a lot of cultures do the same thing. The Holy Bible is one of the things that has been kept. And some of the other types of documents from different religions that have been kept safely, and some of them have not only just words to communicate, but they have some drawings and paintings that are on them, and it's very important. These are very important symbols and paintings that not only tell people or give people the wisdom to change their lives, to look on big picture, that there is a force out there that is all caring, all wise, all joining together. And so we have lots of those things. If you take a look at the pipe here, you'll see some of the symbols in this, and that the Thunderbird symbol or drawing or painting, this is done in beads, and this was after the Spanish and the French came to this land, and where they brought the beads with them, which then were picked up by the Native Americans, and they created art with this, not only to hang up in their teepees and in their homes, but also to wear. This is a depiction of who I am. This Thunderbird is not an eagle because of the colors and everything. It is a hawk. I am brother to a hawk. I was given that name, Onehawk. And this is a symbol of my strengths and what I look upon. And the sun in the middle means God. So this is my travel in with God. And so, and it was given to me, and it was placed on this pipe, and which again, also the pipe there is another form of art. Again, this is the eagle head, and it's done in clay, very, very strong. And when you use the form of the eagle, you have to do it in something that's very, very strong, because this is a strong symbol. This is how we say, this is kind of like in Catholic religion, this would be like our Holy Spirit. He is the one that holds our thoughts, our prayers, our everything, for when we say, as we say in my tradition, for when the Creator is busy in another part of the universe, He will keep everything for us and then turn it in when the Creator has time for us to listen to Him. So this is a very important part. It's known as the peace pipe. We call it the ceremonial pipe, and is used mainly to give thanks. Thanksgiving Day, we give thanks with the pipe. It is also when two men get together and decide that they are going to agree on something, that there's nothing, no lies between us. There's only truths are spoken, and we're in good. We're dealing in goodwill. So that's a very important part, a very important symbol in art. And we have others here. I brought the dream catcher. These are not completely finished, and the simple reason is because when I get ready to give this to someone, I usually look at the person, and if they want a dream catcher, or if I decide to give them a dream catcher, I look at the personality, I look at the way the person carries himself, and I put that decorated in such a manner that it is that person. And the dream catcher, basically the story is that this dream catcher, well, it's a very long story, but I'll cut it short. Simply is that what it is that all dreams travel through the sky, bad dreams and good dreams. And when you're having problems with bad dreams, what you're supposed to do is put something of yours here in the center, like maybe you lost an earring, or maybe you lost a shoelace. So the extra shoelace, you tie it on there, and you hang it in your room so that it turns in all directions. And then when the bad dreams and good dreams pass through there and they get caught up in the web, the good dreams will find themselves to your shoelace and then down to you because they recognize you. And the bad dreams are found by the spider that exists, that created the web, and eats them away, and you won't have any bad dreams. And it's a very long story. It's a legend mainly for children, but a lot of grown-ups who all of a sudden develop this faith. And I encourage all people in our church, Four Winds Lodge, we encourage people to have a faith, to go to church. If your background is Catholic, but you also have a tendency to drift over to Native American culture, that you pick up on some of the things we do, but that you never leave your original, your background, your Catholic background, your Baptist background. We want you to keep that, because it makes you more wholesome, more stronger, to have this faith with you. And so that this is something that we tell people to learn what we have, but not to leave what you've been brought up with.
Well, thank you very much for that part of your share. We have to take a break now. It's part of the rules. We follow all the rules at our station. We'll be back in 1 minute, and we'll have Reverend Kurt Rai share some of his Buddhist art, and then Rob and Onehawk will also share again. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. In 1 minute, we're back for the second half of our program.
KNXT TV is proud to say thank you to all its viewers who have given their support for over 25 years. And only through your support is KNXT able to provide spiritual and informative programming. please remember KNXT in your long-term support through wills, bequests, trust, and plan giving. Your gift is important to the future of Catholic television. Help preserve the strength of KNXT's message based on the teachings of Christ. Keep KNXT in your future plans.
Hello again, and welcome back to the second half of our program on the importance of art in all faiths, all religions, all traditions. It seems that the importance of an art form, it could be in many different ways, but that art is significant. We're going to hear now from Reverend Kurt Rai, who is, as I said, a priest of the Buddhist tradition. He'll share with us one of his pieces of art, at least, to show us how it is for the Buddhist world, the importance of art. Kurt, what can you tell us?
Well, it's kind of interesting representing a whole world religion.
Oh yes, it's
and
no pressure.
And one of the things that I'd like to clarify right off is that there are many Buddhas. So everybody's heard of Shakyamuni Buddha, who lived in what is now Nepal approximately 2,500 years ago, and he is a documented living person that he didn't create the Buddhist teachings, he discovered a universal truth. And so that's what started the teachings. And originally the art in Buddhism, they considered it inappropriate to represent the historical person. So there would be footprints or a chariot wheel, they'd have all the symbolism because they thought it was inappropriate to have him as a person. Then about 1,000 years after the historical Buddha died, this school of Buddhism called Mahayana, which is a group of different schools, which our Jodo Shinshu is part of, had a different take on what is Buddhism. So the earlier schools would try to imitate what Shakyamuni did. They try to follow exactly the same rules that he did, the same practices. Then in China and Asia, they developed this Mahayana school. It's like, well, what is the essence of enlightenment? And so then they started creating these Buddhas. And so, for example, the statue I have here is called Amida Buddha, and that is the Buddha that we focus on in our school. He was never a historical person. What he does is he represents the idea of wisdom and compassion. And so the idea of wisdom and compassion, wisdom doesn't mean just intellectual, it means spiritual wisdom. And so the idea is that that's why he has his hand raised, is for wisdom and for compassion. And the idea is that if somebody can be very wise, but if they don't know how to express it. So sometimes the stereotype about Buddhists is that they're very self-centered and they don't do anything for the larger community. The idea is that we try to use the teachings inward to go with the compassion outward. Wow. And so that's what the symbolism is with the hands like this. You probably can't see it, but on the center of his hand is a wheel, and that's the universal symbol for Buddhism, because the first sermon that the Buddha gave was the Eightfold Path, and so it was spokes of a wheel. And so that, if you see the wheel anywhere, that's universal of any school. And what they said is the Buddha set the teachings into motion.
Wow.
Yeah. So as the last week, we had someone from a different school of Buddhism. And so as you can see here at the bottom, he is standing on a lotus flower, which is also another universal symbol of the Buddha. And like the idea is that we live in the everyday world. In Buddhism, we call it samsara. And there's good things and bad things, but as we mentioned last week, flowers grow out of the murk. So what it is you have this very dark environment, and the flower comes up and is beautiful white and breaks on the surface. And so that's free for all. So that is the symbol of what we follow in Jodo Shinshu. People misunderstand that Buddhists pray to the statues. We don't do that. And so I've had people ask me if I worship idols. I said, my grandma asked me that. And so what it is this is the symbol. So what I tell the kids at our school is that it's just like the American flag. So when you do a pledge of allegiance to the flag, you're not saluting the flag, it's the piece of cloth itself, it's what it represents. And so if you went to our temple downtown in Fresno here, our altar area is very elaborate, and there's a big, beautiful statue of Amida. And when people go up and offer incense as a gesture, what they're doing is they're clearing their mind. They're not praying to the statue. So I think that's one of the things that gets misunderstood.
You know, I'm glad you said that, only because Christian viewers watching the program, I think, might be enlightened to know that there may be the same possible misunderstanding of our statuary, because there is a real accusation that Catholics are too much into the saints and the statues, and they worship them. So I'm surprised and kind of enlightened to find out that Buddhists might have the same rap. I mean, it might be a misunderstanding.
Right, because it's interesting, because this is the centerpiece of our altar area. But 500 years ago, our 8th master, Renyo Shonin in Japan, said the best thing to have in there would be the myogo, which is right here, which is the Japanese characters that say Namo Amida Butsu. Second best would be a scroll, and the statue is the worst. And you know why? Because people personify it.
Yeah.
They think of it as a person.
Yeah.
So when you read the text, our holy text,
Wow.
Amida is not a he or she, it is the ultimate expression. So it's referred to as it. And so the idea is with the myogo that you break out of that. It can be in our temple downtown, we have it written in Japanese, we have it written in English, Namo Amida Butsu. And so it's just the idea for us to try to break out of our everyday realm and to try to understand the divine.
This is very exciting. Rob, I wonder if you had any comments, questions, or observations about what the others have shared, or have certain of your images that might still fit in and be able to move us along. Where would you like to go?
Sure. The beauty of art is that it can either be classically executed, and in the classical execution, you get to tell an entire story, like those beautiful pieces we saw from Rembrandt and Tintoretto. In contemporary art, especially in graphic design, which is my field, rather than telling an entire story, what you do is you might ask a question. You might paint part of a picture and let the person who's viewing it pick up the rest of the picture. If we could see some of the slides that are coming up, I can see how this is illustrated. Okay, this might cross both worlds. This is a painting of mine which hopefully shows the creation of the world and reminds us that in all of our traditions, the world is seen as good, and our job as good Buddhists, as good Native Americans, is to reverence the goodness of the earth, reverence the goodness of this life, and move it forward. In this depiction of two fields, I heard this wonderful quote from Rumi and said, I want to paint this. And if the viewers can't see this, it says, well, I can't see it. Beyond the ideas of right and wrong, there is a field. Meet me there. And again, carrying the theme of reconciliation. All of our traditions talk about how the body is not separate from the soul, the mind is not separated from the heart, the earth is not separated from heaven. There is this internal unity. And our job as practitioners, whatever is our vehicle, is to witness this unity and to express it. So
while you're on Rumi, if you could leave that, Greg, for 1 second, I just want to jump in because I have a friend who's a Sufi master, and his Shakespeare is Rumi. And why he is so into Rumi is that he would have been that first great mind that was able to see the universality of religion. And as an Islamic Sufi, he winds up neither finding himself over others, but rather a brother to all religions. He had Catholic, Jewish, and all forms of religion as friends, and he's Iranian. So it's kind of important that we keep in mind the great people that have given us art through their poetry, because Rumi is the greatest Farsi poet. So there you are with a beautiful piece of art reminding us of a message from a poet from 1,500 years ago. Thank you very much. Onehawk, I wonder if there's one more thing right now you see a connection with what's been going on and where Native American might have one more final thought or a comment to make.
Well, one of the things I see, and I see it in a lot of different religions, I see it in a lot of different people that speak of their faith and their religion, their spirituality, is that one of the things that we have in common is the circle. Yeah. The circle is sacred for us. We do it, we see it in our art, we see it in our statues, we see it in our carvings, we see it in almost everything, and it's a universal thing. There are no square stars, there's no triangles, no hexagons. Everything is in a circle. Things in our universe revolve in a circle. Our whole galaxy spins in a center amongst millions and billions and trillions of other galaxies. So it's a wonder that circles play a big part in faith and religion, and it joins us and it makes us see the center And in the center is not us. We are part of that circle. But the center is our faith, our strength, our spirituality, our God, however, in whatever form we call him. So this is an important thing. And like I was showing you earlier in some of the art that I have here, circles is how we put these things together. The mandala is a symbol that we use to protect the home. There's no other symbol to protect the home that is in another shape. It has to be in a round shape. The symbolism, the drawing here, the great bear, the wisdom, the strength for the home, the protector. It is kind of a coincidence, I guess, or maybe ironic, that our California, the strongest state that provides food, provides work, provides everything for our people here, is the bear flag. You know, the flag, the bear is on the flag. So it's it's a very important symbol. And then lightning, the shape of lightning, again, the Father speaks, or we say the Great Spirit speaks. This is great medicine, to hear thunder and light, to see lightning. So this is a protection for the home. And it's a beautiful, beautiful pieces that lots of natives create. A lot of our people create these things they do solemn at powwows and at gatherings and things to make their way through life. I went to college selling dream catchers, medicine wheels, mandalas. So it was my strength, my art that helped me to become and be where I'm at right now. So that I give thanks to the Sacred Circle for.
Well, I want to thank our Sacred Circle today. It really has been a blessing these last 2 weeks to share with people from different traditions around common themes, around chant, around art. And I hope that you're seeing in these two forums a chance to look at our own faith in a much broader and a much deeper way. There are so many common themes among our faiths that does not diminish what is unique to our own self. It doesn't change or make less the fact that we share in common traditions and images and symbols. It just gives us more credibility that we're on the right track, that we are with the universe, that our faith is in sync with greater things beyond ourselves. I want to thank our panel for illustrating this. Until next week, God bless.